Happy to meet you again in Business Doctor. As we discussed in the last time, we are going to open up a new topic, which is companies and organizations. So, think about your daily routines from morning to night, and you see a lot of items, you see a lot of materials, you use a lot of materials. For example, when you wake up, you have a toothpaste, you have a toothbrush, then you have a tea or coffee or milk. Then you have a breakfast. For breakfast making, you need a lot of utensils, you need a lot of items, you need, in fact, a lot of recipes. Then you go to work or you go to school or college by vehicle or by auto or car. See the kind of number of items you are going to use in a day beyond the mobiles and TVs and laptops. So, how these things come into being, that's where this topic begins. These items come into being because somebody either produces or manufactures these items. Not only they do that, they also move that item from the place where it got produced to your kitchen or to your hall or to your dining hall or your bedroom. So how these things happen? These things cannot happen without a plan, without a goal, without a structure. And it has to work across the country, and in a global scenario, it has to work across the countries where people do business with. So that opens a big topic by itself, which is nothing but economy, that we will discuss down the line as we move forward. So, how does these items get produced or manufactured? It is not like one person doing that manually or selling it manually to the consumer, then getting the money. Everything is not possible just by oneself. It requires a set of resources, not just one type, multiple types. For example, it requires some other material which we call as raw material. It requires people, it requires money, it may require land, it may require a place or like office place, it might require machineries, it might require time, time and effort and energy. All these things are required. That's what we are going to discuss, and that's where you are going to be employed in one of these maze where somebody is going to give you a job, or in case you are going to become an entrepreneur, you are going to do one of these things. So let's talk about their basic classification. It is either an individual who is doing that on a day-to-day basis, like a street vendor. Okay, he does something and he produces and sells it to the person who is passing by. Or there could be a set of uh, items put together in a place, different kinds of items, like a shop or a grocery store or it could be even a salon or a medical shop, for example. So that's another kind. The third one is a company where a set of people come together, do certain things which are assigned to them for a purpose to solve some problem, which we discuss all these things in the earlier videos. So that's how the company gets formed. The corporate is a higher version of the company where it has to be done at a different place, at a different level for multiple set of components or items that are going to be produced. Like that we will discuss again down the line. So to do all these things, you need a kind of discipline which is achieved in the methodology of organization. That means some people are supposed to be there at this time, some people are going to be monitored, some people are going to be producing some outputs at a definite time with a definite input and a definite output. When you form this kind of structures to whatever you are doing, then it becomes an organized setup, and that company or that corporate becomes automatically an organization by itself. Now, we have seen, for example, from toothpaste to toothbrush to pillows and mattress and cards. So it requires a different set of manufacturing of items. So people in the industry classify these kind of activities as domains or verticals. For example, you need finance when you want to buy a toothpaste. So for that, you have to use a banking system or a credit card system or some other financial system, which is a vertical or a domain by itself. So the one who gets produced gets into an engineering industry or a manufacturing industry, manufacturing in general. Within that, there are again a lot of sub-classifications. So it becomes an engineering. So you need finance. So anything related to finance, it becomes a financial domain. Within that, again, there is a banking, there is a lending, there is credit card, there is loans. There are a lot of sub-classifications under that. And it needs to be delivered from the place where it gets produced to your doorstep, which requires another domain called retail, which somebody is going to sell it. Either you go to shop or the shop comes to you, either in online form or in any other form. So there is a retail, and with the help of digital technologies, the commerce is done in an electronic way. It's called e-commerce. And to get to know all these things, you need education, for which there is a education as a domain. There is a separate domain where a lot of contents, for example, like this video, gets into you through some channel. Like there is a video recording, there is a YouTube. So for YouTube, you need an account. For that, you need a mobile or a laptop or a computer. Again, it requires the internet. See the kind of scale of operations to get into a domain. And in case if you fall sick for some reason, you need a medical advice, you need a doctor advice, you need a wellness advice, you need a illness advice. So that gets into another complete vertical called healthcare. To manage your accounts for such a large scale operations, you need accounting. Financials and accounting is another area in that direction. So if you visualize end to end, see the kind of horizontals and verticals one has to go through. Now let's talk about the company, how the kind of structures it can have. So the individual can also start a company, but company here in the sense that it's an individual business. The individual takes his or her own decision, what to sell, how to sell, what is the price, etc., etc. And the purpose of that is to only to sell and make money. That ends the scope of that business. In case it gets into a slightly larger structure where there are more than say 2 or 5 number of people who are going to get into that company, then do that in a sequence of steps planned and to produce the result, it becomes a company. As I said, corporate is a large scale operations of a company. And you remember always that either you are going to own a company or you are going to join a company. So you need to know what are the types of companies, and in terms of, say, for example, their offering, you can classify them as a simple service because somebody has to bring an item which is ordered on online to you. So that is a service. Somebody is actually manufacturing. For example, in agriculture, it's just a production of rice and wheat and cereals and whatever. If it is a material thing, it could be a manufacturing of car, bikes, cycle, or anything else. There's a third one which they combine the various products and services in such a way to give the customers a solution. So basically, there's a service, there is a product, and there is a solution. That's one kind of classification. The other kind of classification is based on the domain they operate. For example, it's an agriculture, or within agriculture, it could be again farming, precision farming, or it could be just to know the fertilizers, that kind of thing. That could also come under chemicals. So there is another thing called finance. Within that finance, again, there is a banking, there is a non-banking operations, then there is a manufacturing. Within that manufacturing, again, there is a engineering, non-engineering types, healthcare, retail, technology. These things are becoming a part of domain or verticals. The other type is within the product. How do you classify these products? There is a classification like there are service products, service delivery of those products, or certain things are transformational. Can you guess 3 things which changes the mankind? Is it possible for you to guess? The first one, the history of mankind, fire, when the fire was discovered, it changed the way people ate, the way people used the fire to light up the forest, light up the place. So fire changed the way people live in terms of civilization. The second important discovery or thing which changed the life pattern is wheels. With the invention of the wheels, people started moving from one place to another at a faster rate. People were able to transport materials, transport things, transport themselves from one place to another place. So movement was basically possible through wheels. Third one, I'm sure you must be knowing, which is nothing but internet. Before internet and after internet, things have changed a lot. What I'm trying to tell you is that these 3 things are, for example, a transformational, which means the people are doing it like this before, after this, they dropped everything and changed to this. That's the transformational. There are a lot of products in that space, in the transformational space. And the challenge in the transformational space is very, very high. and it requires a hell of a lot of thinking. That we'll see it in the due course. The next level of classification is in terms of ownership. I may be an individual owning a small setup, or a group of individuals may be owning a small setup, or I may be a proprietary in my company can be a proprietary in nature where I control, but it's just a one man show. The other type is like a partnership where more than one person, say like minimum of two, for example, they join and together they do business. Third is the private companies where again few people join together, they do it. It is a bit more structured than proprietary. There are a lot of legal and there are a lot of compliance related to taxation and the governance, which are decided by the government of the respective countries. The other type is the public, where the company gets formed and public is also participating indirectly into that company's operation. So these are the different types of ownerships a company can have. See the kind of combinations of the items or the producers people are going to make, and not only they make, they deliver to your home or to you through various channels, either physical form, digital form. It requires a huge amount of infrastructure, which requires from the government side, for example, the roads, the mechanisms like goods travel, could be air travel or freight, or it could be by ship containers. So there is a huge amount of infrastructure that is required, and still you when you order something, it has to be delivered to you on time. So how does all these things work together? Just wait for a minute. If you are going to become an entrepreneur and you are going to do all these things by yourself, by your thinking, and you have to do that, but not by just yourself, you have to ensure that your team also does that. And still, whatever you see in the morning to night, that whole operations need to be done. And you have to remember that there are a lot of companies, that means there are a lot of individuals like you and me who have joined up with friends, families, and opened the companies and serving the humanity, serving the families like you and me. There are a lot more to discuss how these things get structured, like how the departmentalization happens, how the functions get executed. Because in case if you are going to join a profession and pursue on that, you will be exactly fitting into one of these things which you are doing from morning to evening in any of these companies, somewhere in that department or that function. So wait for that. Till then, I'm signing off for this video. See you next time soon on how these departments and functions work. Thank you. Have a nice day. Cheers.